Welcome to the Make It Happen with Will Polston podcast. These podcast episodes with Will and his guests provide you with insights on how you can transform your excuses into results to benefit yourself, your family, your friends, your community, society, humanity, and the universe with what Will calls the ripple effect. Will's mission is to empower 1 billion people via the ripple effect and intends that you'll become another person to add to the count, having listened to this episode.
Hello and welcome to Make It Happen with Will Polston. I'm Will Polston. This is episode number 111, and in this episode I'm joined by Jannecke Øinæs. Jannecke is a former musical theatre artist who followed her dream and founded the company Wisdom from North, a Nordic platform for accelerated inner growth and empowerment. Here she offers inspirational videos with highly respected teachers, her own video blogs and an online magazine, an online membership, online courses and live events. Over 56,000 people follow her YouTube channels and she's reached almost 7 million views. And in this episode, we're going to be talking about how your difficulties can be a gift.
So Jannecke, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Will. It's a pleasure being here.
I'm really looking forward to the conversation. Last time we spoke wasn't actually that long ago. The roles were reversed and we had such a wonderful conversation. I was like, right, I must get you on the show and talk about all the wonderful things that you've been doing and what it is you've been up to, which we've just been hearing about. And I'm really looking forward to getting into our conversation today. So one of the things that I know has become, I suppose, a mission, a passion for you is bringing some of the best people on the planet in terms of their knowledge and wisdom and sharing that with people around the world, specifically around certain topics in the form of sort of inner growth, spirituality, metaphysics, and enabling people to benefit from those modalities. But in my experience, nobody ever does something like that unless they've had their own experience of it first and it has an impact on them in some way. And I'm going to assume that you're not the exception in this instance.
No, I'm not. I think those who are spiritually seeking and are really curious about why they're here and asking these big questions, it comes from a place. And for me, it comes from that I was very lost in life. I had a clear direction from when I was 7 years old. I landed the role of little Cosette in Les Miserables. And I've always loved Les Miserables. It does something to me. I watched it actually first time in London in 1985. And I was like, I gotta have that role. And then it came to Norway and I got that role. And then my career as a musical theater artist or a child star started. So I just landed role after role. And my dream was so clear. I was going to be a musical theater artist on West End. So my whole life was steered towards that. I studied English in school and I went to theater school in high school, like with a musical direction. And everybody was like, oh, it must be so great to know what you're going to do in life. But then something happened. When I landed the role of Rizzo in Greece, I was 20 years old. My success just continued also as an adult. Right after that, I landed the role of Audrey in Little Shop of Horrors at one of the biggest theaters in Oslo, in Norway. And then I got nodules on my voice. So I was so hoarse, I couldn't sing and I didn't know what was wrong. And I went to the doctor and realized that I had severe damage on my vocal cords. And then everything fell apart because I had planned out my whole life. And there I was, I couldn't sing and not speak. So I was ordered not to speak and they didn't know when my voice would be good again. So I fell down into deep depression because all of a sudden I had lost my identity. I didn't know who I was.
Because just on that note quickly, so you mentioned about playing little Cosette in Les Miserables, but you were also Annie in Annie. You were Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz, so this wasn't this had been your whole identity growing up. I mean, you were a child star doing what you loved and living your dream, right? So this was a huge shift. when that happened in the early 20s, in your early 20s?
It was, and it was also all the attention that I got when I was young. Even though I shared the role with other girls, I always got the premiere night. I always heard, you're the best, you're the best. And this is not to boost, it's just to give a picture of what this little child had to deal with. So I was praised so much, but inside there was a feeling of being an imposter. Inside, I didn't feel that great, and I didn't know how really to be just Jannecke as a young child. Who was I at school? Because I heard from my parents that, keep your feet on the ground, because in Norway and Scandinavia, we have this jante law. You're not supposed to believe you are more than you are, or more than anybody else. So keep your feet on the ground. Don't become a prima donna. So I tried to be great at stage, and in school I tried to just be very normal. So I got this split inside of myself. I was very focused on doing what the adults, the directors, the producers wanted me to do, be cute and all of that, but I lost myself along on this journey. And when everybody said that, oh, you're going to be a great actress, I hope that was true. But inside, I had this fear that maybe I'm not as good and as great as everybody thinks. So when I then lost my voice, that sort of proved that, oh, but who am I now? I'm nobody, because I can't sing. What am I supposed to do now? And my acting talents, I never believed in myself in that area, actually. Like, I was sort of okay, but not as good as I need to be. So then I felt that God and the universe had deceived me, and that I didn't have a purpose. So this depression lasted a couple of years, where it was just gray. It was like I didn't want to get out of bed because I didn't have a reason to, because I really felt that my purpose on this planet was to be a musical theater artist, because that was who I was. What am I going to do now? Like, what am I going to study? I don't care about anything. Like, musical theater was everything I cared about. So it was a pretty dark period, but I realized, I was on a sick leave and everything, that I needed to survive. So how would I survive? I started going out into the woods. I started running. And when you start exercising, it does something with your chemistry in your brain. So it actually helped me raise my frequency a little bit. And then I remember that it was this moment when the sun was shining on my cheek and it felt really good. And I was like, that feels good. So that must mean that I care a little bit about myself. And then I started studying metaphysics. And I listened to Oprah Winfrey, who said that you are powerful. And I remember I thought that, is she talking about me? Like, or everybody else? She must be talking about me as well. And she talked about this power that we have inside. And I started getting curious. Maybe I do have some power, whatever that is. So slowly but surely, I opened up to the possibility that there was a meaning with this, with me losing my voice. And I started becoming inspired of learning about that difficulties can be a treasure, it can be a gift, but I just didn't see the gift right there and then. And I understood that there was such a thing called self-love, that you need to love yourself for who you are. So I saw that maybe I need to see that there's value in me without me having to perform. And that's where something started to grow within me, standing in front of the mirror, just looking at myself and being like, I love you. I love you. No, I don't. Yes, I love you. So I started cultivating this love for myself. And it took me a while, but slowly but surely I became happier, more self-confident. And then in 2012, I actually started to study to become a primary teacher, because I didn't know what to do in life. And I felt that theater was not my thing anymore. A lot of other things happened in between. I landed another role without like a singing role in a soap opera, and I got fame again in Norway. But I felt that theater was not it anymore. Something was missing. and there was something to find, I felt. So I started to study to become a primary teacher, and I finished that, but I never became a teacher because Wisdom from North happened. And it's quite fascinating because I was sitting at the cafe with my father one day, and I said to him, I'm not inspired to become a primary teacher either. I don't know what to do in life, but I know it's not that. And then all of a sudden, a thought just dropped down into my mind, and it said, wow, what if I travel around the world, interview people about the big questions of life, like big spiritual teachers? And right there and then, it was just like it clicked inside of me that that's what I'm going to do. And that same day, the name Wisdom from North dropped into my mind while I was jogging. And I realized that I'm born to do this because I've been on camera. I'm so curious about everything. I'm not scared about, filming and stuff like that. I think that's fun. And in a week, I landed all of a sudden out of the blue 2 jobs, one commercial, one TV show that gave me $5,000. So I could buy a website, build a website, and also buy a camera. And then I started my first interview, and reached out to big spiritual teachers. And my YouTube channel has started. And this is 8 years ago, and I'm still doing Wisdom from North.
Wow. And let's talk about your YouTube channel, because I mean, you've now done over 400 interviews. You've done, I mean, the YouTube channel is fantastic. I think it's over 6 million views just on your YouTube channel alone, with some of these people that you've had. So there are these profound teachings that people are getting from hearing you. And what I think is fascinating, there's a few things here that I think are really interesting. And one of them was you were saying that it was the difficulties that you could take these difficulties and you could make this change and come out of it. Obviously, the couple of years when you were going through feelings of depression and making that shift, but it also was a form of self-love for you as well. It's actually you getting back in touch with yourself and saying, no, actually, I love myself, I love you, and building that up, which has played the role. How important do you think that you doing that exercise of wanting to love yourself and be loving towards yourself, maybe if we phrase it like that, was in you being able to have the inspired thoughts of what you were going to do next when you were thinking about being a primary teacher, but then ended up having these sort of having these thoughts drop into your head? How important do you think that role played?
Yeah, I actually speak about that in my webinars, where I focus on awaken to your soul's purpose, because that's one of my passions. I think if I didn't have cultivated enough self-love, I wouldn't have met that inspired thought with an opportunity. I would have gone into fear because that was such a big thought. Here I was saying to my father, I'm not going to have a steady job, the most important job there is, that many people say, being a primary teacher, teaching children, right? Helping them to become great human beings. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to travel around and interview people. It's sort of a crazy idea. And how can you make money on that? It's free YouTube interviews, right? But I felt the clarity of the situation. I've had just 2 moments like that in my life. It was this time and the other time when I decided to create a membership. It was such a clear moment that I couldn't deny it. And it made so much sense because all of a sudden I felt how things clicked, how they came together, like everything I had been through, I could share on this YouTube channel. I had so many questions. Things started to align in a sense. I think it has to do with cultivating enough self-love. So when you get these insights and opportunities, you don't rationalize them away as silly thoughts. You actually take them in and say, thank you. This is from my higher self or my deeper self, or what we want to call it. This is an opportunity. And I get this idea because I'm supposed to follow it. It's not a coincidence. And if I wouldn't do it, somebody else would do it, because often these ideas, they are, I believe, they are transmitted to many people, and some are taking them and others are not. So it is about, when the opportunity comes, to say yes to them. And of course I was afraid, but I felt that the love was bigger. The excitement was bigger. And I knew I had it in me, but it is a stretch. You have to move out of the comfort zone. But in a way, I felt this is a gift to myself. I'm going to do it for myself. I've been suffering so much doing what I'm not loving, and I want to be happy. I want to be happy doing what I love. So let's go for it and see where it takes me. And it all starts with that one step.
Yeah, I love that. I love the fact that you said that those, because I can relate. I call them lightning moments, as you know, when you have these sort of really clear moments, and it's like, I call it lightning because it feels like lightning has just struck you. It's that bright and it's that intense, and it's like you just know that you need to move from those directions. So I can completely get what you mean in that respect. But I think it's incredible you say that the difficulties can be a gift, because it's those difficulties when we go, well, what else could this mean? Does this mean at the end, or does this mean at the beginning? One of my favorite sayings is that there are no ends, just new beginnings. So when you perceive something coming to an end, you could be disappointed that it's ended, or you could be excited that something new is going to begin. And that in itself is very, very powerful. But the thing that I think is particularly interesting, you said about being a primary teacher, is you just said a moment ago that I thought there was nothing better than educating children on how they can grow up and what they can do in their life. Well, now you're doing the same, but you're just not educating children. You're educating adults from all different ages on how they can evolve and develop and transform. So transformation is something that's really quite important for you, is about getting people to get these transformations, which I suppose is one of the reasons why you have some of these incredible spiritual teachers that come on the show. I'm curious to ask, what is spirituality for you?
Wow, that is big questions. What is spirituality in general, right? But you ask what it is to me, which is a relief, because I actually don't know what it is. It is different than religion, I would say. It has nothing to do with religion, because religion to me is very ordered, and there's dogma, and there's a lot of do this or this happens. There is a lot of fear-based mentality within religions, and I that's not for me. Spirituality for me is a way of living. It's a lifestyle, and the way of living is having an open mind, being curious. It's about embracing all of life, all of who you are, no judgment. And it's about love. And it's also that soul perspective. So I haven't met one spiritual person that says I'm spiritual that don't believe in life after death. So it has to do with that soul perspective, that we are here as souls having a human experience, and that life goes on based on that we are energy, and energy cannot die, it can only transform. And there's a deeper reason for my incarnation. Maybe I've had many lives, future lives. There's only one now. Time is not linear. Everything exists at one time. And it's really to be here and now. It's not about ascending, like I want to think about UFOs and I want to connect with angels and just be up there. To me, it's much more, my spirituality is much more grounded. Like, what can I do in this life? I know I have a purpose and a potential, and many potential paths as well. Some are higher vibrational plans than others, but I have free will. But there is a blueprint there. So how can I make the most out of this life and be of most service? So that's like the overall perspective. And also when I get triggered, or when I'm sad, or I have issues and circumstances that are difficult, what can I learn? What does spirit or my higher self or my soul want me to look at? So I think that life mirrors back what we have inside of us. So when, for instance, if I attract a difficult relationship, What is it in that relationship that can tell me what's going on within me? So instead of looking at myself as a victim, that it just happened again, I met this guy, blah, 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 and same happened, or, oh, I attract that situation, or why do I always struggle with money, or whatever it is. It's just examples to look at it like, how did I co-create the situation? What am I to learn here? Do I have some resistance towards money, for instance? Like, I used to have resistance towards money. I used to look at money as not something bad, but that it wasn't pure if I was going to sell something. And obviously I didn't sell anything, like my sales didn't go well. And I needed to look at, I actually resist money, and I actually have some judgments about people who make a lot of money. So it's really the hero's journey, where you are looking at yourself, being real honest, like, what do I actually believe? What judgments do I have towards other people, towards myself, towards things, and seeing how you can start loving that. First, accepting that, oh, I had some judgments about that. What is this about? Maybe it's a fear that I fear that I could never be successful like this person. So it's a constant exploration of who you are through curious eyes, almost like a child, not judging anything. Like, of course, I judge a lot. So that's a practice. It's living in a practice of wanting to become a better human being, not better in a way, but like more whole being, where I judge less and less. And that means myself and other people. And I look at myself as a powerful being, that I'm co-creating my reality with the universe. And that it's my choice, really, what I want to do, how I want to look at things in every moment, as an opportunity or a disadvantage. But I fall into the trap all the time. Like, I see my patterns, but having this spiritual perspective makes it easier. I find it makes it more magical. Even if bad things happen, it gives me some tools to say, hey, what am I to learn in this situation? I know there is light at the end of the tunnel. For instance, going through a breakup is really hard. It's so painful. But I believe that, oh, we met for a reason. We are probably soulmates or have a karmic relationship. And I was supposed to experience this. So what did I learn? And how can I grow from there? So that was a long answer to a short question.
Yeah. Thank you. I mean, I think it's fascinating hearing people's perspective on spirituality, and yeah, it's wonderful to hear yours. Cool. On that note, then, so this kind of leads into this next question. Of all of the different types of leaders that you could have interviewed, and all of the people you could have had guests on your show, what was it that made you want to interview spiritual leaders or experts out of any different type of person you could have ever interviewed?
A great question. Well, I think there's so many interviews with people who have had success in their lives, or interesting people. But to me, when I started in 2012, I didn't find that many interviews about spirituality. Now there are tons of them. But when I started, it wasn't, especially in Norway. So my show got very quick a lot of attention in Norway, because nobody did this. Nobody was actually giving focus to spirituality in that way. So the reason was that I was missing it. I wanted to hear those deep conversations where people went deeper, spoke about the big questions of life instead of just, I don't know, other things. Like, that was something I missed. Yeah. And it felt healing to me, because I've always felt that, that I sort of have a longing to somewhere else. Like, where am I coming from? I needed to understand more about my origin. So it was sort of at start a desperate need to understand more. I was so curious. So basically what I missed, I went out to get it.
And I'm so glad you said that, because I think that it's very similar with what I've done with my companies and various different brands and networks and stuff we created, was that I felt there was a need for it. So I created it, and then a whole lot of other people come along for the ride, right? So it's very interesting. You had some incredible guests, people like Byron Katie, Till Swan, a mutual friend of ours, Yvette Rose, Anita Morjani, just to name a few of the incredible people that you've had. I've got to ask this one question though. with over 400 people you've interviewed, what has been sort of some of the most standout, profound lessons that you've personally taken from these people you've interviewed over this period of time that have made a big difference to you that we can then share with the people listening to this today?
Wow. There's so many messages. However, there was one interview that made the most impression. And that was in Bali. I went to Bali to interview people at the Bali Spirit Festival. And there was a spiritual teacher called Emmanuel Jal. And he had been a child soldier in, I think it was Sudan. I don't remember. In a horrible war. This is many years ago that I interviewed him. And he had lost a lot of his family, killed himself, seen people being killed, and trained to be, in this mindset of killing. And the way he explained how he transformed his darkness and how he met his demons, he called the demons, when he started to wanting to become a better person, how he transformed, how he was able to transform his, what is it called when you are mind, when someone does something to your mind, what is that word again? When they
like brainwash?
Yeah. Brainwash. Like he was working with this brainwashed mind and met all these demons. And then all of a sudden he I don't know how he did it, but he managed to change it all to love. And now he's like the most loving, beautiful person who shares love wherever he goes. And I was crying through that interview because to me, it showed that even the darkest darkness can be transformed into light. Because sometimes in my life, when I was at my darkest moments, I felt that there's no use. I can never be happy. It will always be like this because I have these thoughts or these beliefs. I can never change. And I really saw that everything can be turned around, everything. So yeah, that was what made most impression out of all those interviews.
So if there's someone right now that's listening to this, that's maybe in a bit of a dark place and they're going through a bit of a tough time, what's your advice to them?
Well, I think a change of perspective can help to just see that there is hope. I think it all starts with hope. Just perhaps listening to me, sharing my story about how I thought I could never, ever be happy in my life, that I was doomed to have a certain mindset because I felt stuck in my mind. I felt like I was like hitting the wall, like I couldn't get out of my own mind. And everything just seemed gray, like there was no life inside of me. But what depression often is suppressed emotions. So I had suppressed part of me. And I think it has to do with that you have left yourself at some point. It can be big traumas, but it can also be small traumas. I just heard about this lady the other day that had really a deep depression, and it was just because she always prioritized everybody else's needs beyond instead of herself. So that can be, to some people, really detrimental. We need to take care of our own needs. So the moment you start to give more attention to what do I need, just in this moment, you can start very small. Because I had a course with a teacher in a Danish teacher, because we produce online courses, and it's called Fall in Love with Yourself, something like that. And she said, start with those small needs. Like, what do I need right now? Well, I need to have a sip of water. And now I need to sit more comfortably, pay attention to small needs and meet them. So what you're saying to yourself is that I care about myself. I put myself first. You need to put yourself first, because if we don't have a connection to ourselves, we can easily end up in a dark place, or we get physically sick, because we're not built to not care about ourselves and have that connection. Like children, when they're toddlers and small babies, they take care of their needs. They cry when they're hungry or when something is wrong, or they laugh when they're happy. So they just follow their instincts, and they're naturally joyful. So what we are is naturally joyful. And it is what we have learned that have made us go perhaps into darkness. So this can be unlearned again. And how do we do that? It is to practice self-love. Maybe looking into where in my journey did I abandon myself? Where did I reject myself? Are you in the right relationship? Maybe we're afraid of being rejected, but who are we really rejecting? Often it is ourselves when we stay in a dysfunctional, toxic relationship. And even if it's hard, the right thing to do for you is to move out of that relationship. So I listened to a video the other day where there was a coach saying, you need to make the hard choice now to get an easy life. If you make an easy choice now, you get a hard life. So sometimes we need to make those hard choices in order for us to really honor ourselves. So it all has to do with honor yourself. Maybe it is that you're suppressing emotions. Maybe it is suppressing traumas. That maybe you need a therapist. Look into, what am I suppressing? Maybe you're suppressing your truth, or you really want to do something else than you're doing right now. And your mind will come in and say, well, it's not possible. It's never going to work out, blah, blah, blah. But that is the ego. So that is where the perspective comes in. If you can spot that ego and sort of disidentify with it and see, this is an old part of me that is not the real me. It just wants to keep status quo. It just wants to protect me, but it is not giving me happiness. The ego is a human, it helps me being human and have boundaries and stuff like that. But it really is not helping me to connect with my soul and the truth of who I am. So start observing what you're saying to yourself. Start to see the lies that the ego is telling you, and start to move deeper into a connection with yourself. And meditation, all these things can help. But obviously, this is what I'm working with in my membership. And this is why I'm doing what I'm doing, because there's so many people who have lost themselves. And that's why we become depressed, I think.
So you touched on the membership, and I know obviously one of the things that's great about the interviews is that you get these incredible insights, but in your membership, one of the things you really work on with people is creating these transformations, enabling them to have these completely new ways of thinking and being and doing and all of those wonderful things. So if people are like, wow, this woman sounds incredible, I'd love to learn more about her membership and what's involved, what does the membership like, and what can people expect to get from it?
Yeah, I've had the membership for 3 years now, and it really came out of me wanting to take it a step further, because I felt people didn't have real transformations through my interviews on YouTube. And I had, again, this clear moment where I just saw this picture of me handpicking from those interviews, those teachers that I wanted to work with, and then inviting them into one platform. Because I realized this is what I've been missing on my journey. I've been so alone on this search. And what if our members can get everything in one place, not needing to go there or there for a meditation, and there to find that teacher and that teacher. So our members get a community. We have a private Facebook group with people from all over the world, a lot from Scandinavia. And every month they get a new masterclass within a topic within personal development and spirituality. We have people like Eben Alexander, Yvette Rose. We're having Dr. Sue Morter come on now. So they teach in different subjects, and often you get exercises that comes along. We have Q&As with a teacher, where the teacher is either coaching or supporting, like answering questions to the members. And then we have inspirational calls where we meet each other, support each other. I have my own live sessions, and we have tons of meditations, like a library of meditations. Live meditations we also have. So it's really a place to keep momentum up, because often you go to a course and that's great, but no one is like holding your ear after that. Like then you have to continue on your own. And in the membership, it's possible to keep that expansion constantly happening. And really my goal for the members is to step into their own power. So I call it the journey of empowerment, because I was so powerless in my depression, and now I feel I've taken that power back. And that is such a difference. And that's what I want for my members, to really find that inner power and to go out in the world and shining that light that they are, and start to live from the heart and live authentic lives, sharing their gifts. Because when they are sharing their gifts and their talents like you're doing, and that's when we change the planet. It's not when we're dimming our lights or being a place where we don't want to be. It's really moving through that comfort zone. And it's much easier when we do it together, and when we're not alone, to get that support. So it's a really beautiful community. And I learned so much from the masterclasses myself. Like, we have a masterclass now called Falling in Love with Life. And there was a Danish teacher who was also in a depression. And after that, she had like this big awakening where she just saw love in everything. She had like a shift of consciousness. And she's teaching this with such grace and warmth. And it's not just about the words, it's about the energy that the teachers are giving, that you're like, it just changes something within you. It's all about energy, right? Everything is energy. So, and when you constantly get refill and more of this, something starts to change and shift. So it's a beautiful community.
So for, the way you've described it sounds absolutely phenomenal. So for people right now, they want to know about it. We'll put the link in the comments. They can go and head to that now and find out a little bit more. And they can definitely go and check that out, because it sounds absolutely incredible, these different master classes. I know you've, like you say, you've hand selected some of the best people in the world to be able to deliver these transformations, and there's literally hundreds of people benefiting from it on a monthly basis. So sounds absolutely incredible. I've loved this conversation. For people that have been intrigued and they do now want to go and listen to you more, and obviously joining the membership is something they can look into, but where else can people find you? Where else can people connect with you, Jannecke?
Yeah, I'm everywhere. You can connect with me on my website, of course, wisdomfromnorth.com, or YouTube, Wisdom from North. They'll find all my interviews and videos, or Instagram, Wisdom from North, Facebook, Wisdom from North. So just type in Wisdom from North and you'll find me, and I have tons of free material as well. And we also do online courses with some teachers for those who want to dive deeper into a specific area.
Wonderful. Well, look, guys, definitely go and check that out. Definitely go and connect with Jannecke. Like I say, I highly recommend listening to the different interviews and even getting the clips of it on Instagram and whatnot, and on LinkedIn, those various different places. Definitely go and connect with her there. Jannecke, it's been fantastic. I've loved our conversation. Thank you so much for coming on as a guest, and I really look forward to catching up with you soon. Thank you so much for inviting me. It's been an honor. Absolute pleasure. And everyone that's been listening, go and check out Jannecke. Go and head to those links now. And until next time, make it happen.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Make It Happen with Will Polston podcast. Make sure you join Will's free Facebook group, the Make It Happen community. Please support the show by subscribing on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, SoundCloud, or Google Play. Share this episode with at least one friend you think would benefit from it, and give Will a 5-star review wherever you download your podcasts. Until next time, make it happen.